Hello there, I am John Baird. I was born on the 2nd of October 1877 in Colmonel, a wee village just south of Girvan. My mother was called Elizabeth, but sadly I only have a few memories of her. I have one big sister, Janet, who was 2 years older than me. My father, Hugh, was a farm worker, so we moved about wherever we could find it. By the time I was 4 years old, we were living in Maybole, and we were still there 5 years later when my mother died suddenly. I still don't understand what happened, but just 3 weeks later, I found myself a pupil at Alloway Public School. That was thanks to Mrs. Hutchison, and I was put into that school. Like a lot of things in my early life, my memories are vague. I don't really know who she was, but I'm forever grateful to her for changing my life. 2 years later, my father married again. My stepmother already had 3 boys, and about this time Janet went away to work, so my life changed once again. I had a new mother and 3 new brothers. When I left school, I got a job with the co-op in Ayr, and life changed again. I met Jessie McCulloch. She was 5 years older than me, and she was a very clever young woman, working as a clerkess. We married on the 27th of December 1905. The next September we had our firstborn, wee Hugh, named after my father. By this time I was 26. We were living in Newton and I was working as a vansman. Just in case you don't know, the co-op delivered folks messages to their house using a horse and cart, and the vansman was in charge of the horse and cart and the deliveries. We were doing well, and we wanted a bit more space, so we decided to move to Hunters Avenue. We were living there when we had our second child, Jessie, named after her mother. Very sadly, our third child, John, was born prematurely in March 1913, and he died 5 weeks later. We were heartbroken, but my life was about to change once again. You see, this is where Mrs. Hutchison getting me into Alloway Public School and Jessie's smart brain both came into play. I was taking food to people's houses. I could see what people liked to buy and what better off folk wanted to eat. So we made a big decision. We decided that we could run our own business. We opened up our own fruiterer's business. It was a huge step for us, and it was a step that a wee 9-year-old boy from Colmonel with no mother never thought he would take. Well, things were fine at first, but of course in the autumn of 1914 we found ourselves at war. I continued it with the business, but by 1916 I had to join the army. In September of that year I joined the Ayrshire Yeomanry, and by November 1917 I was in France. I won't pretend that I wanted to be a soldier. I wanted to stay with Jessie and the children. I still did my very best. My captain described me as respected, and brave and reliable. By January 1918, I'd been transferred to the Royal Scots Fusiliers. We were fighting near the French town of Arras. Conditions were grim, but it wasn't all bag. We had New Zealand Maori troops near us, and I saw them doing the haka. It reminded me of Maybole at closing time. We were also visited by King George V, as well as the Belgian King Albert and the French President Clemenceau. However, none of them were with us on February 1918 when a German shell landed in the trench, killing me instantly. I was 40 years old. I am buried in Boyell's cemetery near Arras. I am remembered on the memorial at Alloway Village Hall and in Alloway School. I am also remembered on the War Memorial in Wellington Square, just a few yards from where you're standing. Why not go over there and see my name? I would appreciate that.